You know, Peter Thiel is giving a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist.
Yeah, that seems odd. Someone saw one of the lectures that he did on the Antichrist.
I saw it.
You did it? You went there?
I saw it. Yeah. I saw Peter Thiel's lecture on the Antichrist.
It's what bothers people about this Palantir thing. It's not only these great fortunes, but it's their capability to literally be gods.
Wow.
To literally know what you're thinking, what you fear.
What does he know about the Antichrist?
It just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right?
On the other side, you have someone who appears to be taking the book of Revelation literally.
So Duncan Trussell apparently goes to Peter Thiel's Antichrist lecture. What he saw will blow you away. First, we need to look at some stuff here. Because even Joe Rogan has this conversation about Peter Thiel talking about the Antichrist, and it's disturbing everyone. Why is that? Because he went on this podcast and was talking about the Antichrist and how he worries about it, but the host presses him and tells him, aren't you building the thing that the Antichrist would likely use? And he's like, no. So this is wild stuff. So let's get right into it. And guys, make sure to hit the like button so that it will help more people see this video. So first we're gonna go to Ninjas and Butterflies real quick, talking about a Christian who brought Peter Thiel over for a Bible study.
In a 4-day seminar on the Antichrist.
What?
I read this article by Christianity Today about the Acts 17 ministry. I think their intentions are good. They want to reach the tech industry with the gospel. The husband of the founder of Acts 17, he used to work for Peter Thiel at Palantir, and they went over to one tech industry dude's house to do like this house church, and Peter Thiel was there, and Peter Thiel just started talking about the Antichrist and stuff. And apparently all these Silicon Valley tech dudes were just like, we didn't know Peter Thiel was a Christian.
Peter Thiel is a libertarian, and there's a professor that he studied under. A lot of his quotes regarding Christianity are direct quotes from this professor. The professor and him are very, as far as like the Antichrist and stuff like that, there's this tension between the apocalypse coming and the Antichrist is the hero that saves everyone from it. His entire thing is like something's gonna happen that makes you choose one or the other. But he defines himself as far as his own religious views as a heterodoxical Christian. It's the same root as heretic. He doesn't believe you need to evangelize. He's like, my faith is real for me. I don't need to convince you of it. You cannot call yourself a believer. And the last thing that Jesus said after his 3 years of ministry, death and resurrection, he says, go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey the things I've commanded you. You cannot be a follower of that human and say, I don't have to teach you to obey. It's in direct defiance. I think there is a political advantage that he's trying to pull from this. You either believe in the Jesus of the Bible or you don't believe in Jesus.
There's a big difference between having conversations and then being put up as a teacher.
That's wild. So that's what happened. And before I go to Duncan Trussell on the Danny Jones Show explaining how he went to the lecture of the Antichrist, we're going to go to Joe Rogan talking about how strange this is.
And if people started encroaching on that power and trying to limit it and trying to, that's where it gets weird. They get defensive, right?
Yeah.
If people want to tax the rich, eat the rich, they get a little, and they're like, okay, I got to build thicker walls.
Get the bunkers.
I got to do something.
Well, they
and
just
I also have
said,
to create, work with the government to create some laws.
The World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab just said, and I think it was Klaus Schwab, not Larry Fink, the Blackstone guy, or BlackRock, who's now the interim president or whatever.
Thank God.
Thank God. Someone who understands the issues. But Klaus Schwab is basically like, I believe we're heading towards stakeholder capitalism.
Yeah.
Which is people, private individuals that have it's a public-private partnership where you have guys like Bill Gates, Elon, Bezos, whoever, people at that level that have a large stake in a public-private partnership that's running society.
Whoa.
And I think that scares people a little bit, or it's a curiosity because you start going, and it's always kind of been the case. I mean, J.P. Morgan built the federal government.
So having individuals controlling society, coming up with the Antichrist. And like with Peter Thiel being able to survey everyone. Crazy.
Years ago, like these guys have always had a ton of power. But with tech, the level of power in terms of surveillance and data mining and the power over your life has never been as Orwellian as it is now, and it even with AI and all of these models, it's even going to get more intrusive.
Yeah.
So I think it's not only these great fortunes, but it's their capability to literally be gods.
Wow.
To literally know what you're thinking, what you fear, what you want, your desires, all of these things, having all your data, knowing everything you do, knowing how fast your heart is beating. You know, all these wearable things that you have that are transmitting frequencies to, you know, someplace where all of your health data is being stored. That's what bothers a lot of people. It's what bothers people about this Palantir thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
The Palantir thing is very odd.
A lot of people feel that this is the precursor to a social credit score, a digital kind of police state, and that it's being done under the guise of security, that you will be safer.
Which is what the Patriot Act was brought through with.
That's exactly right.
It's always the case. It's always the case. They always sneak it in like, you got to be safe.
Yeah.
And then you get the Benjamin Franklin quote.
The people that want security, right? They something about they deserve neither.
Yeah.
The trade liberty for security deserve neither. Yeah, I mean it's true. I just think Peter Thiel is giving a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist.
Yeah, that seems odd.
4 part. Well, here's what's really wild to me: 4 parts.
Yeah,
it's not just one. One lecture on the Antichrist would be insane. This guy's doing a series. He's doing a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist, and nobody in his inner orbit went, Peter, how about 1 lecture on the Antichrist or no lectures? Not 4.
Well, I don't think he understands the optics.
He certainly does not.
Yeah.
It's odd. Yeah.
Tickets sold out.
I mean, he was asked about this, and he's like, duh, I'm not the Antichrist. We're going to pull that up.
Well, of course.
Well, it's a private lecture at a club in San Francisco about the Antichrist. What does he know about the Antichrist? Is he like...
I'm guessing a lot.
If you told me there was a movie and there was a guy who played the Antichrist, zoom in on that image of him.
Yeah.
I would say, oh, is that him? Was that the Antichrist?
This is like me doing a 4-part lecture on Long Island racism.
Wow.
Just to show everybody, how much I know about it and how scary it is and how we got to watch out for it. But it's totally not me or anyone I know. It's no one that's ever been in my backyard, but those others. He's just kind of, leaning in, I guess.
Well, I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like it's too on the nose for him to not be aware of this.
Why? What I would like... Someone saw it. Someone saw one of the lectures that he did on the Antichrist.
Was it good?
It might have been Duncan. He said it was boring.
It's of course.
So someone saw it, and he's going to talk about it. That's wild. The guy he was talking about is Duncan here. He's going to talk about the lecture. But first, I want to go to Peter Thiel actually getting asked about the Antichrist.
Question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing. I
mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, There are these different gradations of this we can describe.
He has such a hard time answering this. And his whole shtick is saying that the Antichrist wants there not to be any technology advances, which is the opposite of what most people are thinking. I don't know where he gets his ideas from, but that's what's crazy.
This is so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety.
So Glenn.
Yeah, that's wild. All right, now it's time to go to Duncan Trussell, explain that he went to the Antichrist lecture.
Do that, but
what did you make of Peter Thiel's whole Antichrist thing?
I saw it.
You did it? You went there?
I saw it. Yeah, I saw Peter Thiel's lecture on the Antichrist.
That's awesome. I'm glad you did that.
My friend invited me, and of course I said yes because I'd heard all these sinister things about Peter Thiel, and how often do you get to be around a sinister person? Wow, it's rare, a globally sinister person. Yeah. So I went there really expecting, to be in the presence of Sauron or something like that. Like a room to be cold, or and so, Peter. Again, this is what I've gathered from being in an hour and a half lecture. I'm not making commentary on my thoughts on mass surveillance tech, which is fucking terrifying. You see what's happening in China. Yeah. I'm just saying direct observation, right? He just seemed like a tech dude. He was like a classic tech guy. Yeah. And so basically what was really interesting and kind of like Joseph Heller level absurd about the lecture. And it's a 4-part lecture. I only went to one. So I didn't see the whole thing. But what I gathered,
wow,
so this could be
he missed out. He could have got the inner knowledge.
But what I thought was fascinating about it is it's like this bizarre hybrid. On one side, you've got kind of like, somebody who's been living in the world of the transhumanists for decades. Somebody who, that's his life. It's a tech bro. And on the other side, you have someone who appears to be taking the book of Revelation literally, right? So it's this combo meeting. And so it felt like he was saying that there might be a way to patch the book of Revelation. Like a tech guy being like, we can control alt delete the book of Revelation. I think there's a way we can maybe forestall the emergence of the Antichrist.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. That's crazy. So what makes him think that he's able to stop that? His whole thing is, if we build this technology, we will be able to stop the Antichrist. But what if that's what happens? That's the most ironic thing. And you see that within all the movies is the person who's really trying to do its entire best to stop the evil person, he becomes the evil person because he's doing it all with wrong intentions.
That there could be things that, so in other words, you're taking it literally, but maybe the book of Revelation is more of an invitation to fix the apocalypse. When I've always taken it, if you decide to take it literally, is more of this is just sort of what you can expect when pre-singularity, whatever you want to call it, collapse of civilization. This is what happens at the end of things, and there are all these things you should look out for, but also sort of unavoidable.
Do you think he takes it literally? Do you think he really believes this stuff, or do you think there's some sort of ulterior motive? Because it seems so strange. There's been all these articles coming out in the New York Times and the New York Post, how. I haven't been there, so I don't know, but how Silicon Valley has been transformed into this Christian, mega city, and they're trying to paint, and people like Peter Thiel are trying to paint Christianity onto everything that's happening in Silicon Valley. And there's this big church there, and Silicon Valley's been historically an anti-religious place. Right. There's been no religion in Silicon Valley.
That's fascinating. I've heard that too. There's been revivals going on there. I don't know how true it is, but
right. Well, I mean, I think what's really interesting about Christian eschatology and like Ray Kurzweil, sort of Terence McKenna's singularity predictions, is you're looking at basically the same thing. Like there's a reason all of these people are like buying property in New Zealand and building like bunkers, and because they see this trajectory that has been described in a lot of different ways, but essentially the problem is that, okay, like imagine if like we gave just a basic phone to George Lucas in 1970, right? Like think of Star Wars, think of like, oh my, no one would have believed it. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Right. We don't even know what 4K was. Like, but anyone can have this now, anyone. And this entire setup here, think of how much this would have cost like early 80s, exponentially more. So technology becomes, inevitably it becomes more accessible. The more accessible it becomes, the more people have access to things that were formerly just for like rich people, the elite. You had to get millions of dollars to make a movie. You can make a movie with your phone now. Right. You could use AI to fill in the blanks if you need to. And so what that means is that this also will include other things. So for example, I don't know how to do gene editing. You don't know how to do gene editing, I'm assuming. I don't know how to like bioengineer viruses.
Right.
But that's coming. I don't know how to launch my own satellite into space. But what happens when you've got like a super advanced AI that can sort of, some sort of matter assimilator or something like that, all of a sudden you start running into what's described as a race between, a potential for humanity becoming a galactic civilization, for AI curing cancer, treating all of these horrific problems in the world, finding ways to desalinate water. That's because and to purify water. And one of the number one killers of humans is dirty water. And so like a lot of these people are really interested in that, like the upstream problems that might be able to be fixed as technology advances. But the other thing that's going to happen is like something infinitely worse than a school shooting. We already know people will take a gun and go into a school and shoot a bunch of kids and kill themselves. This happens all the time, sadly. But what happens if those people somehow had access to something that could allow them to to create some COVID variant, you know what I mean, that is geared to only kill like certain ethnicities? What happens then? Like, and how do you stop that? And so they're aware of that. They know that like that if we have like global instability, chaos that is being caused by a variety of things, including access to information and advanced technology that puts like really powerful abilities into the hands of like people who
is Peter Thiel. I'm assuming he wants to use his technology and Palantir to find the Antichrist, to stop him before he comes into power, to stop him before he does this mass destruction type thing. That's what I'm assuming, because he wants to stop whatever. And he's like, Palantir can do it. They could do it. We could find the person. Imagine.
Shouldn't have it. That it's just a matter of time before we get a Chernobyl style event that has nothing to do with Chernobyl, that has to just do with someone having access to all this technology. So they know that. So that is apocalyptic.
You could be like an AI terrorist. You no longer need to strap a bomb to your chest. You could just
got it.
Use this technology to fuck up.
No telling.
Wow.
And so I think they're aware of that, and that is an apocalyptic view. And so probably, when they're encountering, Christianity, they're looking for things. They number one, it's like probably like one of the side effects of having a lot of money is you begin to realize that like none of this is making me happy. It's not working. Like this dream, like I've got the yachts and I have more money than I could ever spend in a lifetime, but I'm miserable. Why? What is that? It's the best question of all time. And until you like have that experience, you might just think when you hear, money doesn't bring happiness, you're like, shut the fuck up. I can't pay my rent.
Right.
You know what that's like? That's scary. And so you imagine at some point when you have X amount of money in your accounts, all that background hum, anxiety, depression, all that stuff that you have attached to lack of money will go away, but it doesn't. Now what? You want to find something not so rooted in the world. So, and also, like the shit's about to hit the fan, and that's a perfect mind state to become a Christian.
So they think that because of how out of hand this technology could get if it gets in the hands of the wrong people and it becomes ubiquitous in our society, that they need to sort of project or encourage more of like moral cohesion in the country and try to incentivize and encourage more people to adopt Christianity or the Bible or something like this.
I don't think it's like some kind of, I'm not saying they're not doing social engineering. I'm sure that's in there, of course. But I would say more likely, like, one of the amazing things about any like lineage.
That's not what he was saying. He was saying like people realize that money doesn't bring you happiness. Money doesn't solve all your problems. You're still empty inside. It doesn't fill the void within your heart. That's why when you find Jesus, you find true fulfillment because you're created to have a relationship with God. And through Jesus, you can do that.
Is most people, when they get into it with a skeptical, you're just sort of like, okay, let's see what this, thing is that people do. If you weren't raised in it, or if you were raised in it, many people have experienced some form of psychological abuse disguised as religion. And so they're just like, fuck that. But if you haven't really been exposed to it and you go into a church with the secularist mindset, but you have an open mind, you experience something extraordinary. And what is that? You realize like, oh, maybe I'm the asshole because I've been rolling my eyes at something people have been doing for thousands of years. People have died for this. People have saints roasted alive. You know what I mean? Like as they're like being incinerated, crying, not for themselves, but for the people killing them. What is that? That's fascinating. And that's going to grab anybody who's curious. That's going to grab your mind. So when you experience the kind of, one of the words for it is bhav. It's the energetic quality of sacred spaces. And when you experience that, you'll begin to realize like, oh shit, like this isn't just some kind of cosplay people are doing. There's something here. And then then you begin tuning into that, and it becomes a sort of back and forth communication. And then from that emerges, a more sort of religious way of living, among other things.
Yeah, it just seems like, for me, I think one of the biggest reasons I'm so skeptical might not be Peter Thiel. I mean, he doesn't seem like he doesn't seem evil, although, I'm sure there are stories where you could paint him as a bad guy. Like, he's done some weird shit throughout his career, and he's not like if I was the PR guy for Peter Thiel, I'd be like, bro, stop going on podcasts, stop talking about the Antichrist, calling Greta Thunberg the Antichrist.
He called her the Antichrist? Yeah. We need to stop throwing the term around. You know what I mean? Like the term itself is like, the term Antichrist, like I think if you're going to use, like there's lots of words you can use for people that annoy you or for people that you think are like sinister corpo oligarchs. But to like turn it into, especially if you're not Christian, why are you even using the word? You know what I mean? If you don't believe in Jesus, then there can't be an Antichrist, can there? It's like, so I've always looked at it as like my version of the Antichrist is like, I'm sorry, no offense to Peter Thiel, but I want a cooler my Antichrist is going to be Randall Flagg from The Stand. It's going to be, you know what I mean? Charismatic, powerful world savior who is undeniably wonderful. And you can't believe how lucky you are to be in their presence, or that they're your president or king or whatever. Yeah. That's the typical description of the Antichrist, not somebody who like, not anyone I'm aware of on the planet right now.
Right. And I think that Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, he said something about like wanting to spray fentanyl laced urine on his enemies or something like that. Did you see that clip?
Why does the carrier have to be urine? Number one, it's going to be hard. That way, you got to like gather urine. I guess you could you could connect with a porta potty company, but
what would be a better carrier than urine?
I'm sorry, man. If I'm interested in fucking up my enemies, I'm not going to like add extracting urine to like the process. Water, just basic water. But you know,
that's wild stuff. Yeah, I don't think so. He's definitely not the Antichrist, but I would agree for some of the parts is the Antichrist will be very lovable. Everyone will love him. They will understand and think he's the greatest guy, the hero, the person who gets peace, and people are going to worship him. They're going to be in awe of him. Anyway, guys, I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. Very, very fascinating stuff. Am I right? Anyway, guys, if you never decide to follow Jesus and you want to do that today, I encourage you to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. And always remember, guys, Jesus loves you.